All right, let's dive into the microscopic engine that powers pretty much every single one of your cells. It's the very reason you can think, move, and even breathe. So let's get right to it. You know that feeling, right? You eat a meal and you feel energized. But have you ever really stopped to wonder what's actually happening in there? How does a sandwich get turned into the raw power to think, to move, to live? Well, the answer lies in a tiny, unbelievably efficient engine at the very heart of our metabolism. And this is it, the citric acid cycle. Seriously, think of this thing as Grand Central Station for your metabolism. It takes the fuel from your food, a molecule called acetyl-CoA, and it systematically breaks it down. This whole process, which is called oxidation, is how we unlock a huge amount of energy. But, and this is super important, it's not just an energy factory. It also provides the essential building blocks our bodies need. Now, you might have bumped into this cycle under a few different aliases. It's very often called the Krebs cycle, named after the guy who figured it all out. Or maybe you've heard the term tricarboxylic acid cycle. Don't let the different names throw you off. They're all talking about the exact same powerful process. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with why this is your body's central engine. Then we'll look at the universal fuel it runs on and see exactly how the cycle turns. We'll also figure out how it keeps itself running. And finally, we'll explore its big choice, making energy or making building blocks. So first up, let's really establish why this cycle is so fundamental to, well, our existence. The location is absolutely key. This entire process is happening inside the mitochondria. You probably remember them as the powerhouses of the cell from biology class. And it's no joke. If a cell has mitochondria, you can bet this cycle is humming away inside, churning out all the power it needs to function. An engine is totally useless without fuel, right? So what exactly does the citric acid cycle run on? This brings us to this really cool concept of a universal fuel. It honestly doesn't matter if you're eating carbs, fats, or proteins. Your body is incredibly efficient at breaking them all down into one common molecule, acetyl-CoA. You can think of it as the one master key that starts the engine. So let's look at the main on-ramp. Carbohydrates get broken down into a molecule called pyruvate. This pyruvate is then converted into our universal fuel, acetyl-CoA. Now, this conversion process has a fancy name, oxidative decarboxylation, which is really just a technical way of saying a carbon atom gets removed. It's the final, crucial prep step before the fuel can enter the cycle. Okay, let's get to the main event. It's time to see how this engine actually turns to generate all that power. You know, the start of the cycle is surprisingly elegant. It really just comes down to simple math. Our 2-carbon fuel, acetyl-CoA, joins up with a 4-carbon molecule that's already in the cycle, called oxaloacetate. 2 plus 4 gives us a new 6-carbon molecule called citrate, and that's what gives the cycle its name. And here you can see the whole loop in action. Acetyl-CoA enters, combines with oxaloacetate to make citrate. Then, as the cycle turns, it systematically breaks down that citrate, releasing carbon dioxide, yep, that's the stuff we breathe out, and harvesting energy along the way. But the most clever part? At the very end, it regenerates the original oxaloacetate molecule, so it's all set and ready for the next round. So, to sum it all up, the 6-carbon citrate is gradually converted back to the 4-carbon oxaloacetate. In the process, 2 carbons get kicked out as CO2. And, most importantly, these high-energy molecules are produced. They act like tiny rechargeable batteries, carrying the energy to the next stage of power generation. They are the real prize of the cycle. But hang on. If the cycle just reuses its own parts, how does it stay topped up? This is a really clever bit of biological engineering. It's a great question, right? Since oxaloacetate is regenerated at the end of every loop, it seems like you'd never run out. But here's the catch. Some of the molecules in the cycle can get siphoned off to be used as building blocks for other things, like making amino acids. And if that happens too much, the cycle would start to slow down. So the cell has a backup plan, anaplerotic reactions. You can just think of these as filling up reactions. Their whole purpose is to replenish any of those components that have been used up, making sure the engine can always run at full speed. And the most important of these filling up reactions is right here. The cell can take pyruvate, the same molecule we get from glucose, and convert it directly into oxaloacetate. This is like a direct injection of a critical component, ensuring the cycle never runs dry. Okay, finally, let's zoom out. This cycle isn't just about burning fuel, it's about making some really important decisions. This brings us to a metabolic crossroads. Your body is constantly checking in on its energy needs. If you need energy now, acetyl-CoA's main job is to be oxidized in the citric acid cycle for a huge energy payout. But if your energy stores are full, that very same acetyl-CoA gets diverted to build things for later, like fatty acids for storage, or even things like cholesterol and hormones. It's an unbelievably responsive system. So as we wrap up, just think about this. This one cycle is the central hub connecting the food you eat to the energy you use and the molecules you build. It's the ultimate metabolic intersection, which really makes you wonder, what are the cascading effects on our health when just one tiny part of this perfectly balanced engine fails?